Hello and welcome to a special preview of the Euro 2020 quarter-finals. In this mini-episode, we will be discussing the Czech Republic versus Denmark early kickoff on Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time.
We've divided these previews into three key areas for each team. What to expect from these teams tactically, the players that we think will be the game changers, and how we see the two sides interacting on the pitch. Let's get right into what we expect tactics-wise from this game.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting matchup because they're both. I think Czech Republic are obviously leaning on the more defensive side, but Denmark just at this live wire that it's so hard to kind of predict what to expect from them. So it's definitely going to be an interesting tactical battle.
Yeah, I think there's, both of them have been very impressive, have sort of impressed beyond expectations of them. I think the difference maybe that I would say is the sort of very early surface value evaluation of the two teams is that Czech Republic they've done well, but in some games, like for example in the Netherlands game, it took the Netherlands going down to 10 men for them to really take charge of the game. They are also a little bit one track. All of their goals by one has been scored by Patrick Schick, and so they haven't really had a lot of other danger areas, which I think makes them a little bit more predictable than Denmark. Denmark, conversely, have actually, if you really think about it, played exceptionally in every game except the first one, which they have every good reason to have not played well in. They played really, really well against Belgium and were just overpowered by one of the strongest teams in the tournament and one of the best players in the world. But they still played very well in that match, and a lot of people were sort of going at the end of that game, they were unlucky not to go away with all 3 points. And then they played really, really well against Russia, took them to pieces, and then they absolutely blew past Wales. So Denmark have been, not just a team that's good. That statistically, and just in terms of the kind of football they've played, they are one of the better teams in the tournament, weird though that might be to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Very much emerging as a dark horse, much like Czech Republic, I guess. But I think, in my mind at least, Denmark have a little bit of an edge on this one, just for the way that they dispatched their last 2 opponents. And to score 8 goals in 2 games is, very much not to be taken lightly. What's interesting is that in the build-up to this game, I was kind of reading some quotes from reporters from both countries, managers, key players, things like that, and it feels like both sides are confident. Both countries feel confident that they can get a result here. So it's definitely going to be, I'd say, a less one-sided affair than some of them have been perceived to be, at least at the start.
Yeah, I think it will be I don't think it'll be that one-sided. Just that's sort of the very surface, just looking at the sort of route to this point for both teams. And I think they have every right to be confident. I think for a team like, say, France or Spain or Germany or Italy, not that all of them have made it that far, but sort of making it to the quarterfinals, that's sort of like the baseline. That's sort of like, okay, this is like the minimum area where it would be acceptable to not shameful to go out, really. Whereas for a lot of teams, making it to the knockouts, like even to the round of 16, is a huge achievement, which it is. And so, yeah, for these teams to have not only got to the round of 16, but then beaten an opponent and got even further, and for the Czech Republic, it's 2 different reasons that they'll be very happy about that, but, both equally very proud. Czech Republic have beaten a really, really big side, and Denmark have beaten Wales, but they've absolutely smashed them into the ground. So you can see why both teams are absolutely flying high on confidence, and they're going to come to this game thinking, well, based on the strength of our performance last match, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to do the same today. So that'll be a really nice interaction. I think Czech Republic, although they have been very impressive, it'll be interesting to see how they sort of take on this game. Their play style has been defined a lot by sort of breaking up and disrupting play, and Denmark, conversely, have sort of been very good in the middle of the pitch, and it's going to be very key for them to try and jam up that connection between Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Thomas Delaney in the middle. On top of that, just when I think about their options, I sort of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I do have worry for them concerning sort of like how they're going to do things without Patrick Schick, because as good as Patrick Schick's been in this tournament, the sort of surprise factor that he had going for him in the first few games has definitely worn off now. Like the first 2 or 3 games.
Like now everyone knows that he's going to be a real threat and will be trying to mark him out the game.
Well, exactly. Like the very first game that they played against Scotland, he scored 2, and one of them was sort of a wonder goal that no one looked at that and thought, oh, we have to watch out for that because it's not going to happen every game. And then the other it was a really nice goal, but you sort of looked at that and you went, well, is that an indication of how good he is, or is that an indication of how, weak Scotland are defensively? Then he scored against Croatia and people were sort of like, okay. And it's only now sort of got to the point where I think everyone's going, okay, this guy's actually quite good. And the Danish coach is going to be going, right, I want 2 players on him at all times. With that in mind, I feel very, very strongly that the Czech Republic are going to have to find goals elsewhere as well, because Patrick Schick's going to have 2 men glued to him for this entire game.
Yeah, no, they could well, and they've got a couple of options. They're not just a one-trick pony, but they've definitely chosen to be more defensive than offensive, sit back, absorb the pressure, and then try and capitalize on the couple of chances that they get. So, yeah, as you say, it took a player being sent off against Netherlands to really feel like they were dominating the game. They don't dominate games; they keep clean sheets.
Yeah, they definitely do. It'll also be interesting to see how Denmark approach this game, because as good as their last two games have been, there's been a real variance in the side just because of injuries. Daniel Wass missed the game last injured. Yusuf Poulsen also missed it injured, and Simon Kjær, who's the captain and sort of one of the most reliable players, also came off injured. So there's going to be a little bit of a for Kjær if he's going to be fully fit to come back, and for Poulsen and Wass, as great as they were in the group stages, do you change any of the team that beat another side 4-0 in the round of 16? Do you sort of remove Kasper Dolberg from the 11 now, even though, he's done such a good game, because Yusuf Poulsen is more the first choice striker? Do you try and change the formation to accommodate them both, or do you sort of leave things as they were for that 4-0?
Well, it's interesting because there was an interview with the Danish manager, and he was saying, I've got more aces up my sleeve. I've got more surprises in the locker to play. He wasn't saying like we've done great so far, but obviously to throw in Dolberg and him do so well, to play Damsgaard as well and for him to do so well, it's kind of built up this aura of unpredictability. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do try and change it up again.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Just before we go into game changes, when I was doing a little bit of research on this, I came across this quite weird stat. The last 6 games these two teams have played between themselves, 5 of them have been draws. Isn't that quite weird?
Yeah, I actually came across that as well. It's a bit of an anomaly, perhaps, but I think that also just speaks to the fact that these teams do or have cancelled each other out, played to a stalemate in the past.
Yeah, no, it definitely has, and obviously this game does need a winner, so it'll be interesting to see who takes the initiative. Looking at game changers, for the Czech Republic, who is your game changer?
For the Czech Republic, I've gone for a midfielder because, as you said, it's going to be really important to try and break up that Danish midfield, and I think that I'm going to try and pronounce his name correctly. Tomáš Holeš is just having a really good tournament. He's got a goal and an assist. He is a defensive midfielder by trade. He's incredibly fast, and I think that he's going to have a really good game if Czech Republic are going to be competitive in this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he has been... It's kind of funny because we looked at Thomas Souček this season as one of the best midfielders in Europe, and he has still been good this tournament, but he's not even been the best Czech midfielder. It has been Tomáš Holeš, sort of playing a really, really good game, really important, as you mentioned there, disrupting play. He is going to kind of have to do a lot of work in this because they're probably going to be looking to play on the counter. They're also going to be trying to not be overwhelmed in the midfield, and they're also going to be trying to sort of like win the ball back and fire it. So he's going to have to be working in overdrive. And he did do that against the Netherlands. He was key in silencing Gini Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum had, I think, like less than an eighth of the touches he had in some of the other games he had in this tournament. And Gini Wijnaldum's been exceptional. So if he can do that against Wijnaldum, the hope is that he'll sort of be able to bring that to this game as well, and it'll be very huge. I like that selection. I have actually gone for... I nearly went for Tomáš Holeš. I have gone for Vladimir Soufal, the right back, because...
Nice.
We sort of know how good he is from obviously the Premier League. He's a really effective right back, both offensively and defensively. And I think that, Denmark, one of their key danger areas is going to be Joachim Mahler. He's been sort of one of their biggest chance creators, one of their biggest threats. And so I think him shutting down that area is going to be really, really essential. I do agree sort of Hollis sort of shutting down Højbjerg and Damsgaard is going to be super key. I see those as sort of like the two big key battles. Largely just because Denmark have been playing with like so much confidence as well that I think if they can get into this game early and they sort of get like a goal early on from those areas that they do, they could just sort of run away with it and be like, right, let's score another 4 goals, 3 games on the bounce.
Definitely, yeah. They're playing with so much confidence right now and so much passion. So I know what you mean. I feel like Denmark in this iteration won't slow down if they get an early goal.
No, they won't. They'll just be sort of going, right, we've done it, 4-4, and now another 4.
On to the next.
Yeah, that's just confidence and momentum for you, isn't it? Who have you gone for your game changer from Denmark?
Well, you've mentioned him already, and it's probably going to be the obvious choice, but I've gone for Joachim Mahler. I just think that he is so key to Denmark's creativity. I think that there's a good chance the Czech Republic will be able to break up Denmark's midfield play, and at which point it's going to be really important to be able to also create chances from wide. And Mahler's just having such a good tournament that he surely has to be crucial for this game. And as you say, it's going to be the second most important, or maybe even the most important area that Czech Republic are going to have to really batten down the hatches for. Because he could just create something out of anything. He appears at the back post at times. I think he swaps wings when he wants. He really kind of, in my mind at least, encapsulates the Danish randomness almost. I was going to say unpredictability, but it's just so random how they can just pop up anywhere, get goals, and just look like such an elite side.
Yeah, and another right-footed left-back who just popped up all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
It's one of those things that just you didn't really see that much for this tournament, and you get the sense like it's just going to start popping up all over the place now because you've had so many sort of different top performers doing it.
Like, what? Well, I mean, three at the back is such an effective system when used, and I think that we kind of talked about this yesterday when we were doing our previews for the other two games happening on Friday, but on reflection, I really do think that these kind of positions will become more popular in Europe, regardless of whether or not it wins the Euros.
Yeah, I mean, already, even if it doesn't win the Euros, there have been so many high-profile, impactful players that have done it that it'll definitely end up being a takeaway, I think. Kind of like, it reminds me of when, you remember when Conte shifted Chelsea to a back three, and then all of a sudden, every single team in the Premier League was like, ooh, interesting, like all the way, it was like, from Man City to Wigan Athletic, everyone was sort of employing their version. Even Big Sam was rolling out the big three, who's like one of the most, like, classically sort of traditional managers, and often in the way he sets up his teams. For my game changer for Denmark, I have not gone for Mahler as good as he has been.
Definitely.
But I have actually gone for in a little bit of a different direction. I didn't go for a midfielder either. But I went for Simon Kjær, the centre-back. He sort of came off injured a little bit last game, but he's going to be back in the 11 here with almost certainty because he's so important to them. He's just such an immense figure for them. Obviously, he's a big captain, a figure off the ground. We saw it in the whole Eriksen incident, but also on the pitch. Like, he's so important. He's such an imperious centre-back. And obviously, as we talked about, Czech Republic's big threat area is going to be Patrick Schick. And I think that Kjær is an able match to him, and him playing well is going to be a real game changer if he can silence Patrick Schick, their biggest threat.
Yeah, he was actually going to be my second choice for most dangerous player. Not most dangerous player, biggest game changer. I think he won the Euros award for MVP of the round of 16. And yeah, he seems like he's playing with so much just laser focus at the moment. It feels like the Eriksen incident just kind of flipped a switch in his mind. And since then, he's just been playing with so much confidence, so much defensive solidity that he's going to, as you say, he's going to be really key.
A great defender, very good defensively, but also he's very good on the ball as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's got great distribution. He can often sort of fire this ball off. And when you're playing counter-attacking football, as they do, having a centre-back that can launch things and find the ball is really key.
Yeah, well, Denmark have quite a good pivot because Andreas Christensen's really good at recycling possession, but he's not a big, expansive passer of the ball. But as you said there, Simon Kjær really does, hit them long, plays them wide. He's always looking forwards, and he's kind of their first line of progressive play.
So with all that in mind, looking at our game changes and sort of the tactics of the various sides, how do you see these two interacting on the pitch? What sort of game do you think we can expect them to both try and bring to this matchup?
I think that Czech Republic are going to spend the first 45 minutes sitting back, really, really just dropping deep and letting Denmark come to them, and then as the game progresses, they're going to start to be a little bit more forward-thinking, be a little bit more counter-attacking. So I really think it's going to be up to whether or not Denmark can score early. I think, as you mentioned, if they can get a goal within the first half hour, then they've got a really, really strong chance of winning this game. But I do think that the longer Czech Republic can hold out, the more confidence they'll have that they can win this game.
Yeah, I think they'll probably sit back. I think a lot of things that I've seen anyway have got Denmark as the favourites in this game. But I think that's maybe sort of underselling Czech Republic, who have been very good.
No, do you know what? I actually, generally, the previews that I've read have Czech Republic as winning this because of their defensive solidity. And I think that's kind of writing off, or maybe not putting enough importance on, just the mentality of this Danish side and what they've been through and the narrative. I think for me, Denmark are favourites, but I think from the general perspective, I would say Czech Republic probably it's felt that they might have an edge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, mentality and narrative, two of those great intangible forces that often determine how things play out on the pitch. This is going to be a particularly interesting quarterfinal, obviously, for us here in England, because whoever wins this game, if England are victorious in their quarterfinal, will be the team that stands in the way of England and the final. So I think we're all going to be looking at them, very keenly with open eyes and sort of trying to suss out what our semi-final game could potentially look like, how we could win it, what could make us lose it. So yeah, one definitely to keep an eye out for in that respect.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned the England fans there, and they will, be paying attention because it could well be that, the side that wins this is the side that England get to play next, fingers crossed. But the other interesting point, I think, as to maybe why Denmark are being a little bit underrated, is that I feel like in the English media, there's sometimes a little bit of a dismissal for Wales and Scotland as to kind of the strength of their sides. And I think that there's a good chance that in terms of feats that each team have done, it's considered, at least in England, a lot more impressive that Czech Republic were able to beat the Netherlands, who we value really highly as a sporting nation, over Denmark smashing Wales 4-0.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, we did talk about Wales a bit, and I do still think they kind of rode their luck a little bit through the groups, but that doesn't mean that beating anyone 4-0 in the round of 16 is impressive. And Wales aren't, they've made it through to that round, so they're certainly not one of the weaker sides in the tournament. I think that's probably a good place to stop for our preview of this game as we look forward to the game. Rupert, good to talk to you as always.
Cam, thanks very much, and catch you on the other side.
Cheers, guys. Bye.